magical, 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 magical. Prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. Move it, move it, move it, move it, move. My guns of England coming down into Vince Island. Telling me he coming for the mass, he coming to jam. Boy, ready to wreck the place, ready to jump up.
The Honorable Cecil Mackey, Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Mr. Ricardo Adams, Chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, Mr. Ezzy Roberts, Development and Marketing Officer of the CDC, Mr. Anthony Denny, Shows Coordinator, Miss Lafon Fraser, Beauty Shows Coordinator, other members of the Board of Directors and the staff of the CDC, members of the print and the electronic media. With us we have VC3, NBC Radio, and Star Radio also taking the press conference live. My opening remarks was going to be about 20 minutes. But since the minister is late by 15 minutes, I would make it 3.5 minutes. So that would compensate for the time. So first, let me apologize for the late start. The minister had another engagement, so he was running a bit late. On behalf of the CDC, let me take this opportunity to welcome each and everyone to this, our first press conference for Vincimas 2020. The official dates for Carnival are June 26th to July 7th. But of course, you know that we always have a number of activities that take place long before the actual commencement of the festival. And this morning with us, we have all the persons who are going to update us on what we would have been doing so far in terms of marketing, etc., in terms of planning, and what some of which you can look forward to as we go forward. We always deal with the policymakers first. So at this point, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Ashford. And a pleasant good morning to members of the media gathered here this morning, persons representing the various components of Carnival, and of course the listening public who is following this very first media session of the CDC for 2020. I'm indeed happy that we are starting this early this year to engage the general public, to engage the stakeholders, all of the components, all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and indeed all of the world in what is shaping up to be an even hotter Vincimas 2020. Hotter than it was in 2019 and the years prior. And I'm sure that when we hear from the chairman of the CDC, he will indicate that we are moving to new heights and new levels because we cannot afford to remain stagnant and allow other carnivals in the region to go past us. We have built ourselves as the hottest carnival in the region, and I suspect that we would remain that way for many years to come. Vincimas has not grown and developed by chance or by fluke, and it is because of careful planning, the involvement of the various components, all stakeholders, that we have been able to grow this festival year after year. There's of course the role of the government as policymakers in this development process. There's the role of the CDC, there's the role of the various components, there's the role of the private promoters, the role of the patrons, the role of you, the media, and there's several other components that add to this development year after year. In terms of the policyholders, makers, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we continue to be in close connection and engage the CDC each year prior to the establishment of the budgetary allocations. And we have increased those allocations over the years, including for this year, 2020. And we also find it important to engage all of the stakeholders and the components through the mechanism of the CDC with stakeholders meetings and in various retreat sessions year on year. Through central government and through the National Lotteries Authority, we support the CDC's operation. And the National Lotteries Authority, they also in very close collaboration with the CDC and also provide increased and ongoing support to that entity. The CDC, after each carnival, would engage the components, and I must say that all of the components, pan, music, kaiso, and the soca, and also mass, they are represented on the board of the CDC, and therefore each year they would provide to the board a full report on what transpires each year. In addition to that, they would engage their own components and the persons who participate in those various aspects, and they would also provide a full support and feedback to the representatives on the board so that that can feed into the larger picture in terms of what can be improved upon the following year. The CDC also ensures that it engages persons at the junior level to guarantee improvements each year and their further development. The diaspora is also very important, and the CDC would ensure that what is happening out there in the diaspora is of benefit to the development of Carnival. And we all know that St. Vincent remains the only city outside of their capital that has a Calypso competition. And we know that the Dynamite Calypso tent, they have been going for several years, close to 20 Calypso and the soca artists. Not only do they participate in the competitive aspect of the national festival, but they also bring their supporters and followers down, and persons come down in large numbers on the Vincentian diaspora from Vinci Mass each year. So from the CDC level, they are doing their part to continue to develop the festival. The components, very important that they also look at the aspect of development, and we know that they have been lifting their game and raising the bar each year, and we're happy to see that more persons are become involved in all of the aspects, both soca and raga soca and calypso, and I think that we can be assured that those numbers will continue to grow and that the quality of the music coming out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines each year will continue to improve. And I take the opportunity to congratulate Problem Child for making it to the finals of the Soca Monarch competition, the Power Soca aspect in Trinidad and Tobago this year. And several of our other artists continue to shine regionally and internationally, which is very important for the marketing and promotion of our festival. In terms of PAN, we know that the numbers through the PAN Against Crime and other initiatives of the Europan movement, the numbers participating at the junior level and at the senior level continues to improve, increase each year. And we know that the Europan movement, they have a very innovative program for 2020, and I'm sure we'll hear about that later, that would continue to put PAN in safe hands at the junior level and also at the senior level. And mass, of course, we know that we're seeing increased numbers in terms of the mass bands. We're seeing many of the mass bands now doing their own marketing and promotion, and as a result, strengthening what the CDC itself does, bringing more persons from the region and beyond to participate in their presentations each year. The rural carnivals, we have had to condense those, combine them so that we're better able to manage and let them be a lot more efficient in their operation. And I'm sure we'd also hear what is in train for this year in terms of rural carnivals. The private promoters, we have consistently said year after year that they play a very vital role in bringing more persons to Vinci Mas each year, and they supplement and complement what is happening at the national level. And all of these shows are well patronized, well organized, allow for more exposure for the artists of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, expose our music, and therefore we want to congratulate and compliment them on the role that they have been playing over the years. The patrons, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have 110,000 in terms of our population. Some of those are either under the age to participate in some of the national events, or some of are beyond the age of participating or enjoying what is Vinci Mas, and therefore they are confined to listening on the radio. But by and large, I think that we could be satisfied and proud of the local patrons and returning Vincentians and visitors coming to our country each year in terms of the numbers and participation in the various events. The airlines have been doing their part. We now have the international flights directly from 3 international destinations, and at peak season, 2 of them have put on second flights. Hopefully, the third airline would put on a second flight this year. And of course, you know that we are working hard to get airlines coming from other destinations with direct flights. We saw the numbers last year going up over 2018, so that is a good sign. And from all indications from the airlines, we would have full flights, capacity flights coming into St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and therefore our numbers should go. We have with us this morning a full room of the media, and we are carrying this program live streaming, I suspect as well, and therefore St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the region and the world, they will be updated this morning on what to expect for Vinci Mas 2020. And of course, you, the media, you continue to play a vital role in taking this information out before the festival, during the festival, and after the festival. And we want to say thanks to you for your contribution in that regard in promoting Vinci Mas. And of course, at the end of the festival, we know that we have a high quality, very glossy magazine that is provided at the end of the festival. And this also assists in capturing Vinci Mas each year and assists us in marketing and for the promotion of the festival. I want to mention 2 aspects that complement the development of Carnival as well. This year, budgetary allocations have been put in place to allow the National Cultural Foundation to step up their game and to go on another level. CDC themselves, when you hear from the chairman, I'm sure he would elaborate on the fact that they have strengthened significantly the operation of their office with the addition of an accountant, as well as a marketing individual who would assist with also the operations in the office, and that would strengthen the operation of CDC itself. To complement this, the National Cultural Foundation, they would be provided with an office space, and that would allow them to also improve on their operation. The development aspect of their operation, I'm sure CDC will be working very closely with them in all the 3 components where they can collaborate and put on development programs. And also the whole aspect that I've been mentioning for a couple of years, I'm sure that the CDC would be delighted in this new aspect of operation of the NCF. Animation, short film, and producing mementos of the festival. I'm sure that the NCF will be delighted to look at those aspects to have items produced that can be put on sale, of course, with collaboration with the stakeholders, and also to look closer at the whole aspect of short films and also animation coming out of the festival. And the second aspect I want to highlight is the development of the National Secondary Schools Bands Showcase. We have a coordinator and assistant coordinator of the creative cultural industry in Rodney Small and Bomani Charles. And they have been spearheading, especially Rodney, the development of the National Secondary Schools Bands Showcase. We engaged about 18 of those secondary school bands last year. Some of them did not participate in the showcase, but our intention is to engage all 26 secondary schools in this showcase. In so doing, we would be providing a pool of musicians of all types to filter into the community bands, but they themselves, some of them have stayed together after the festival, and therefore they provide entertainment in their communities at various events and throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we'll see more and more of this happening as the years go by. What this means that musicians basically assured and guaranteed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the next several years. And this program is going very well. This is the third year, and I suspect that we'll see an even more dynamic showcase of the secondary school bands for this year. So if you look at all of those aspects that I highlighted, I think we'd all agree that Vincy Mas is basically in good hands. All of the various aspects that support and complement the growth and development of Vincy Mas are in place, and we're strengthening a number of them. And the CDC itself, in their last retreat, they looked at finalizing the 3-year development plan, strategic plan, and I'm sure that they would be able to unveil that in the not too distant future. So that would also present a clear path for the CDC to follow as we develop Vincy Mas. Very important cultural festival to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we have to play our part, our role in its further development. And I'm happy to see the media here this morning, and all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the world. They're listening to us this morning, and I'm sure they would be willing to get on board as we develop this festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. And at the same time, let me, on behalf of the CDC, thank you for the level of support you would have given to us as a CDC over the years. And of course, over the years, also we would have had great support coming from the media. I think in most instances, the coverage has been very, very fair. Where we deserve a licking, we would have gotten it. Where we deserve praise, we also got it. The minister would have outlined some of the broader aspects of Carnival. And at this point, I'd like to ask the chairman to come and share his thoughts on Vincy Mas, etc. with you. Mr. Chairman, Ricardo Adams.
Thank you, CEO. Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Sess Maki, members of the board and the staff of CDC present, members of the media, friends of Vincy Mas following this press conference. Welcome to our first press conference on Vincy Mas 2020. And I'm not sure if many of you have been here at our refurbished boardroom, and hopefully this morning you would be a little more comfortable than you otherwise would have been a few years ago. And it is just a symbol of some of the things that we're trying to do at the CDC and with Vincy Mas. This press conference this morning is just about highlighting a few of the things that have been happening with preparations for Vincimas 2020. And we're not going to be fully exhaustive because obviously we have our media launch coming up shortly. And if we told you everything now, then you wouldn't come to the one in a few weeks. So we're going to tease you a little bit this morning on some of the structural stuff that's been happening, some of the preparations that have been happening. And then when you come to the media launch, we'll give you a lot more exciting information. So the minister this morning spoke at a macro level of what is happening. I'm going to be a little bit more detailed. Then LaFern Fraser is going to speak to you about Miss SVG and what is happening with that. Mr. Denny will deal with what's happening with the program for Vincimas. And Ezzy Roberts will deal with some specific marketing initiatives that on which we're embarking this year. We began some time ago with an internal CDC retreat. And before we had that retreat, what we did is we had some consultation with stakeholders because, as you recognize, the CDC is an entity that sits, and we are concerned with the development of the Carnival product specifically. But in order to do that, we have to take on board the concerns of all of the stakeholders, because at the end of it, CDC does not play pan. CDC does not produce costumes for mass. CDC does not sing soca. And if we try to think about developing the festival in isolation from the components who are critical to the festival, then we would be losing the people for whom we're working. So we started with some consultations a few weeks ago, and out of the consultations, we had some other planning sessions, etc. And we took on board some of the recommendations, and some of them are very exciting, and hopefully we'll get them done, and we'll announce some of those today. One of the critical things that we're looking at doing is looking again strategically at revamping our marketing. And when we talk about revamping our marketing, we realize, for instance, that there is a logo for CDC, but not a logo for Vincimas. So that is something that we're looking at. We're looking at some other exciting initiatives, and as he would deal with a lot of those when he comes on specifically. But we're looking at the possibility of introducing a Vincimas app in moving with the times, because everybody does everything on their cell phones now. Very few people go to computers to do a lot of stuff. In fact, I see even a lot of the media covering here is covering using cell phones as compared with the days when you came with the big cameras on your shoulders. So we have to be cognizant that we have to move with the times. In terms of sponsorship, we are again looking at the question of restructuring some of our sponsorship opportunities to enable smaller business persons to come on board and perhaps sponsor a particular show, but not necessarily the entire Vincimas. So there may be people, for instance, who are interested in sponsoring Junior Calypso or Junior Soca or Junior Carnival or a pan show or whatever. We're going to make those opportunities available, because at the end of it, we want to embrace as much of the Vincentian and the Vincentians in the diaspora communities as we can to ensure that we all buy into this wonderful thing called the Vincimas. On the program, and then he will speak to a lot of the specifics, but I'm just going to highlight that we are going to be sending you very shortly invitations to our media launch, and that will officially kick off our Vincimas program for the year. And that media launch we're hoping to have on the 3rd of March. LaFern will speak to you about some exciting things that are going to be happening with the Miss SVG specifically, and Mr. Denny will speak to you on the other aspects of the Vincimas. I'm glad he walked it, and just before he walks back out, I just want to mention a little bit. Minister spoke about the structure of the office and what we've been doing, and at the board level, we have welcomed on board this year Mr. Rodney Small. He is the new head of the Yulupan movement, and he will be part of the Shows and Marketing Committee also, with special responsibility for marketing. Many of you would know Mr. Esworth Roberts, who was the deputy chair of the deputy chair of the CDC board for a number of years. Mr. Esworth Roberts is now an employee of the CDC with specific responsibility for marketing and product development. And we've also added Mr. James Gibson, who's sitting in the audience there, as our full-time accountant on board at CDC. So the intent is in line with our strategic plan about which the minister spoke. The intent is to strengthen the capacity of the office of CDC so that as the festival grows and the festival becomes a lot more vibrant, that we can respond to a lot of the changes that are happening in a more efficient manner. I want to take a minute to speak about what has been happening with the music of Vincy Mas. Now, I know a couple of years ago, we basically indicated at the CDC that music was the vessel that we thought was going to take Vincy Mas outside of St. Vincent and really blow it up and sell it. When people get here, of course, they will enjoy the pan and they will enjoy the mass and they will enjoy the rural carnivals, etc. But the message going out, the easiest message to go out, is the music of Vincy Mas. And again, I want to congratulate Problem Child on making it to the finals of the Soca Monarch in Trinidad. Skinny Fabulous, again, partnering with Marshall and Iowa George this time, is one of the front runners for the road march in Trinidad. And we have Captain John, who's worked on a number of rhythms down there. We have people like Wetty Beats, who worked on a number of rhythms, etc. So and obviously there are a lot of other Vincy artists who are doing well internationally, winning the European Soca Monarch competition, etc. So I just want to say that we are going to continue to support the music, and we're going to continue to see how we can utilize the music as the messenger for the energy that is Vincy Mas. A little bit on the issue of cultural appropriateness. I think one of the things that we have to be careful of, and St. Lucia has recently identified that problem, Grenada has recently identified that problem, is that you do not have to be naked to be selling a costume. And I think one of the things that we still manage to do is our traditional bands here have still managed to do absolutely wonderful and creative costumes, but leave people tastefully dressed. And I think we have to be guarded that we do not go down the road where some of the other islands, and I think from reports St. Lucia was particularly bad last year, some of the other islands thought that the less that you wore, the more your costume impacted on people. Likewise, the music. We do not have to, if you listen to the songs that are doing very well internationally, if you're listening to the songs that are doing very well in Trinidad and Tobago right now, there are very few of them that talk about bending over some woman and doing something to her and being disrespectful. There are very few of them that are bordering on profanity with a veiled disguise. And if we want to take the music internationally, we have to appeal also to the international taste. So we can sing positive music, we can bring positive rhythms, and we can come out as Vincy Mas being one of the places to which you can carry your entire family, because we are all about positive development in culture and in mass. More and more carnivals. Well, there's a global focus now on event tourism, because people realize that as small as you are, you can compete on the basis of events. And more carnivals are investing in their products. And if we as a nation don't, then we will be left behind. Guyana has seen it fit now to develop a second carnival. So Guyana now has 2 carnivals, all right? When you speak to persons from the other countries, they are investing heavily. They're going into Trinidad and marketing. They're going into the US and marketing. And we're all in that same carnival space. So we have to continue to push our Vincimas, and we have to continue to push what is good and what is different about our Vincimas. And we have to do that as a nation, because as a nation, we are all ambassadors of Vincimas. Speaking about Trinidad recently, and speaking to some persons down there, there was some concern because, you know, there's this health scare going on now. And there was some concern that persons were mentioning the possibility of what they would do with Vincimas, with Trinidad Carnival, sorry. And I can tell you, the very popular opinion was that Trinidad hotels are 100% booked for the next couple of weeks when there's Trinidad Carnival. The car rental agencies, to get a car to rent in Trinidad now, it starts at 170 US per day. So the car rental agencies, because you could only get high-end cars because all of the cars are out. And the point was made that Trinidad Carnival is a $1 billion plus festival. And we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have to realize that we can't be talking about doing a $1 and $2 million festival and competing with the folks for the same market, because it is the same set of people who are traveling around the world, who are following the carnivals, who are going on the Uber Soca cruises, who are going to all the different festivals. And if we want to attract them here, we have to invest in that marketing of our Vincimas. So, to that end, we have put together a marketing plan, and we're still working on developing it. But we have put together a regional marketing plan, and one of the target areas is going to be Trinidad, because Trinidad is an area where everybody from across the world comes to basically kick off the carnival season for the year and set the stage for what is happening. And from all reports, from the feedback that we've been getting, Vincimas, if we package it properly, if we market it well, is going to be an absolutely fantastic festival this year. We've got music already released. I remember years ago when we were struggling to get songs for the launch of Carnival in May. And we had to put on the new song competition just to get people to release a couple of songs so that we had songs with which to launch Carnival. We're in February, it's not even Valentine's yet, it's before Trinidad Carnival, and we have people already releasing music for Vincimas. So it says that the energy and the excitement is there, and if we market it properly, we can certainly see the increased numbers, and we can certainly see the increased participation and the increased contribution to the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I just want to touch a little bit on rumors. I want to say something. My door is always open. I don't think I have a key to my door at the CDC office. When they close the front door, they eventually close my door. My telephone is always on. My phone, I think, only shuts off if I'm traveling. So if you want to know something, and it is of great concern to you, you can feel free to get in touch with me. You can feel free to get in touch with Ashford Wood. You can feel free to get in touch with anybody else on this committee. If you want likes, put it on Facebook. But I don't respond on Facebook. So if you're interested in genuine information, you know how to reach me. In fact, I've been listening to a number of rumors, and I believe a number of them would be cleared up here this morning. But I just want to say that the last rumor that I heard is that I had won the Iowa caucus, and I am the front runner for the Democratic Party in the United States. Yeah. I want to assure you that is not true. And neither is it true that LaFern and her entire Miss SVG committee have resigned, walked out on the CDC, and left us stranded. And as you can see, LaFern is sitting here as beautifully as ever this morning, and she will speak to the question of Miss SVG. So in closing, I want to thank you all for coming, and I look forward to us having a wonderful, safe, and energy-filled Vincimas 2020, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, as soon as you say Lafon, I see life walking. I thought that was Lafon. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Great information. And of course, like you indicated, Lafon is very much alive. Lafon is very well, and Lafon is the coordinator of our beauty shows. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Lafon to say a few words.
Thank you, CEO. Good morning, everyone. And as Ashford said, yes, I'm alive. I didn't know there was a rumor that I was dead. But I'm here and still very happy to be a part of the CDC, and so are the members of the Beauty Shows Committee. I don't know that I need to say anything else in that regard. I think if we had resigned, protocol would require that we write a resignation letter and submit it, and none of that was done. And we're very much looking forward to Miss SVG 2020. We do have some very exciting changes to announce. As Ricky indicated, it would not be smart to reveal all of what we have planned for 2020 this morning, but I certainly will address the most important change because, of course, our media launch should be taking place on March 3rd, and we'd like to give you more information and keep you interested until then. So first, Miss SVG is moving from its home in early June. We're trying something new that we think can bring much needed new energy to this pageant. And the timing, we think, is extraordinary with the renewal at 40 Endeavour, which culminates in October this year for our independence celebrations. Without further ado, the staging of Miss SVG 2020 will be on October 31st. Miss SVG remains largely a local audience. It is no longer, has not been for a very long time, referred to as Carnival Queen, officially in any way. The independence period also gives an even more national queen flair, and that's what we're really working toward. If we play our cards right, we will leverage people coming into the country during that period. As you are all aware, the independence period is now growing. It has grown immensely, and it's continuing to grow even further. This is also a period of pageants. It has become a period of pageants as well, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a long, proud culture of beauty shows since 1951, and we wish to keep it that way. Now, of course, people are wondering why the change and how did we come up with this change. Truly, just to introduce that, the Beauty Shows Committee has been operating for 3 years, this committee. And since year one, we've been trying to find ways to see Miss SVG develop and grow, as we should. And while we have made changes, we're proud of the changes that we were able to accomplish. We think there's more that can be done. Our society has seen many changes over the past 2 decades. And the question is, has Miss SVG evolved enough to withstand those changes? And by our estimation, there's more to be done through this product, which we have been charged with developing, protecting, and maintaining. The production of pageants world over, if you follow pageants, is benefiting from some change. In addition to that, to the production aspect, we're looking at strengthening the experience and impact of our title holders. Let's face it, 20 plus years ago, Miss SVG, by virtue of being crowned and maintaining a regal disposition paired with service and grace, was one of the most influential people in our country. And the Queen remained Queen for years and years in the hearts of admiring Vincentians. Fast forward to today, for more reasons than one, the level of impact, that level of impact that we saw decades ago, is difficult to reach with the status quo. This is why, among the changes we are working for 2020 and beyond, securing prestigious and rare opportunities which are far more likely for the title holders than a young woman who is not holding the title of Miss SVG is paramount. These opportunities, of course, would be separate from those which are currently afforded the winner, such as the university scholarship and representing St. Vincent and the Grenadines at other pageants, whether regionally or internationally. We are seizing the moment to chart a new path at the culmination of our country's renewal at 40 in the interest of Miss SVG, and we really look forward to the support and the encouragement of the public. That is my presentation this morning. You, of course, will hear more from us at the media launch of Vinci Mas on March 3rd. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Lafon. Well put together, well presented. And since we are speaking about program and programming, at this point, let me introduce our show's coordinator, who will tell you a bit more about what is happening in relation to the program, the 2020 program that is for Vinci Mas.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO Ashford Wood. Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Cecil Mackey, Mr. Ricky Adams, Chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, other members of the Board of Directors of the CDC, members of the media, good morning. And my presentation this morning is going to be more skeletal more than anything else. Very brief, just to give you an overview as to how things are going to flow relative to the program for Vinci Mas 2020. You'd have heard that on Tuesday, March 3rd, we will be having a media launch, and quite naturally, at that event, much more will be said relative to the shows that are going to be produced from the Carnival Development Corporation for Vinci Mas 2020. Our grand launch, nonetheless, takes place on Saturday, May 2nd, right here at Carnival City Victoria Park. We'll be having potpourri of everything that is all part of Vinci Mas, Pan Mas, and Calypso. And as has been happening over the years, we've seen the celebration train and things of the likes. All of that is quite naturally going to be taking place on Saturday, May 2nd, as we launch Vinci Mas 2020. Following that, we'll have the soca semifinals on Saturday, June 20th. Last year, we had 40 artists all told, 20 in the Raga Soca category and 20 in the Soca category, and that will continue for 2020. But just a note to all of the artists in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, this year, our registration process is going to be starting much more earlier. And the chairman highlighted that already, that there's music out for Vinci Mas 2020, but we want to also start that registration process much more earlier. Last year we had, when we total everything together, well over 140 plus entries for Raga and Soca Monarch 2019. And with the explosion that we saw in 2019, with the coming into being of the fresh guard, so to speak, of the Magical and the Casper G's and those other artists who certainly are coming to the fore to contribute to this wonderful festival that we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. No doubt that we'll be having, quite naturally, much more young and upcoming artists being all part of our soca events. On Friday, June 26th, Fantastic Friday Calypso semifinals, and may I say for 2020, the Carnival Development Corporation and the Calypsonians Association will be working jointly to make this year's Calypso semifinals a fantastic Friday. There's not much that I can say at this point in time, but expect the wow effect come Fantastic Friday. We're going to certainly be starting off Carnival Vincy Mas with a blast come Fantastic Friday. On Saturday, June 27th, Junior Carnival will take place. The young masqueraders certainly will have their opportunity to cross the stage. And I, at every opportunity, just want to appeal to members of the general public that that day, that Saturday, is set aside for the youngsters. And we urge you to give them their space as they parade, well, as they move down Kingstown, as they move across the stage at Carnival City Victoria Park. Then on Sunday, June 28th, Junior Pan Fest. This is a growing event. Last year we had somewhere in the region of 14 junior steel orchestras performing on stage, and word on the ground, come 2020, the numbers are certainly going to be increasing come Junior Pan Fest on Sunday, June 28th. Tuesday, June 30th, our junior Calypsonians and junior soca bards will have that opportunity to perform on stage at the Junior Calypso and Soca event. Over the years, as a matter of fact, last year it really, mushroomed our school tours. We had lots of artists coming on board, and that is certainly going to happen come 2020. But added to that, we're going to be involving and including Pan, Mass, as we get into the several schools, both primary and secondary schools here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And of course, for Junior Calypso and Soca, the Carnival Development Corporation, and of course the Shows and Marketing Committee put together with the responsibility of organizing these events, specifically to Junior Calypso and Soca. I can assure you that we are going to be ensuring that the youngsters do get the prominence that they so deserve, not only on the day of performance, but leading up to that event. Steel and Glitter is on Thursday, July 2nd, and there's that big rivalry that is taking place, in Panorama. I personally look forward to Panorama, and we also will be having the sections of the bands coming along on that particular night on Thursday, July 2nd. The next event, well, we can call this a flagship event for Vincy Mas, Evo 4.3. And we're going to be taking you into the clouds, right, Rodney? For 2020. This is a growing event. Last year, we had some wonderful performances from the young, not so young artists, and the same is going to happen for 2020. Soca Monarch is on Saturday, July 4th, and you know the saying. It's not just a saying. That's who we are. We don't party normal, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Soca Monarch is the talk of the town, is the talk of the region. We have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago. Just last year, we would have seen a Soca Monarch on the rebound with a crowd of about 3,000 to 4,000, having in years gone by attracted between 30,000 and 40,000 patrons. But that is not the case in Trinidad and Tobago. We have not seen that type of fall off here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The people of this country continue to support our Soca Monarch. The artists, they go the extra mile, certainly, to ensure that we have a wonderful production on the night of Soca Monarch, and I have no doubt that is going to continue come this year. So brace yourself and get ready for Saturday, July 4th, Soca Monarch 2020. On Sunday, July 5th, Dimanche Gras, it's the night of the Calypso Finals, and the king and the queen of the bands, and a night, of course, where there's quite naturally a lot of spectacle with the king and the queen and the bands, and it's a night where the Calypsonians bring their A game, and we're encouraging one and all to be all part of it. Our Juve and Monday Jam is on Monday, July 6th. Again, this is a day where we certainly do on the streets of Kingstown, and then the grand finale is on Tuesday, July 7th, Mardi Gras, where some 14 mass bands will masquerade, come down Kingstown and come across the stage here at Carnival City. Just finally, just to say to members of the media present here this morning that for 2020, the CDC is promising you shows that are going to be starting on time, quality productions, and it is our endeavor to ensure that the Vincy Mas brand has good representation, so to speak, come 2020. We're not just the hottest carnival by name, but in 2020, we're going to certainly show to the rest of the region and to the world that this little state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we're small, but as Jamaicans say, we're Talawa. And come 2020, definitely, we're going to be having the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. On Tuesday, March 3rd, you'll get more information relative to, we'll get more of the meat of the matter, so to speak, when it comes to the shows for 2020. And we look forward to having members of the press present at that event. Thank you very much, and enjoy.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Denny. And of course, we say you can plan events, but if you do not sell them, then no one turns up. All right? And earlier on, you heard both the minister and the chairman indicate that Mr. Ezzy Roberts is now a member of the CDC staff. He is dealing with development and marketing. And I can tell you he has been doing a lot. No, I won't tell you what he has been doing. I would prefer if Ezzy does that. Let me welcome Ezzy.
Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Seth Mackey, Chairman of the CDC, Mr. Ricky Adams, CEO, Mr. Ashford Wood, Coordinator of Shows, Anthony Denny, Beauty Shows Coordinator, Pafon Fraser, other board members present, the media, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm here in the capacity of Marketing and Development Officer of the CDC. And I would just like to tell you briefly about some of the, and in a broad-based way, some of the initiatives that we'll be executing in 2020. The CDC has previously adopted the use of a logo. This was primarily used to identify the CDC over the years. We have since taken a decision to launch, we have taken a decision to create a Vincy Mas logo. This we will be releasing on the date of the media release on the 3rd of March. This we will use to promote Vincy Mas, as Vincy Mas is a product to be promoted while we maintain the use of the CDC logo for corporate identity. The website. CDC has recognized the fact that a website is a useful tool in the marketing of our carnival. And our website needed some attention, and we have decided to revamp the website, and reconstruction is taking place currently. This should be ready within approximately the next 2 weeks or so. CDC app. The use of technology in marketing is becoming more and more commonplace, and various tools are available through which the CDC can sell Vincy Mas. An app is one such tool, and hence the CDC is currently looking at possibilities of having a CDC app with some very interesting features. More details on these and other initiatives will be shared at the media launch. Our Facebook and Instagram pages continue to be quite active with daily hits in large numbers. AIA Vincy Mas presence. Plans are in place for the creation of Vincy Mas presence at the Argyle International Airport. Decorations will be done at AIA, including the use of a booth for ticket sales and for sharing information generally on Vincy Mas. The bulk of what I have to say would relate to Trinidad Carnival. Trinidad Carnival. Trinidad Carnival creates a great opportunity for the marketing and promotion of Vincy Mas. Apart from their large population of carnival lovers, they also attract thousands of visitors annually. In addition to this, their networking by various media establishments there allow for promotions to be done and broadcasted simultaneously, regionally and internationally. So we are not just capturing the direct audience in Trinidad and Tobago when we go to Trinidad. Problem child. This year, the CDC made a concerted effort to get involved in assisting and organizing the registration of various Vinci artists for the International Soca Monarch competition there. Two Vinci artists, Hans John and Problem Child, were selected for the semifinals, with Problem Child making it into the finals of the Power Soca category with his hit song, Nasty Up. The CDC held discussions with Problem Child subsequently, and we will be providing assistance to aid in his presentation on the night of the finals. On behalf of the CDC, I would like to call on all Vincies in Trinidad and Tobago and Vincies wherever to fully support Problem Child on this journey and on the night of the finals. Skinny Fabulous. Skinny Fabulous will be hosting a big event called Fam Jam. This will be held on Thursday, 13th February, at Estate 101 in Maraval in Trinidad. In an effort to push our Vinci Mass brand to partygoers, the CDC will be doing promotions at this event. Arrangements will include Vinci Mass branding at the venue, the setting up of a booth for the distribution and collection of information, and the distribution of some paraphernalia. In addition to these, we'll also be having two Vinci artists included on the cast for live performances. They are El Punk and the 2019 Raga Soca Monarch, Hans John. Synergy upon the Avenue. It's not an error. It's called Synergy upon the Avenue. Over the years, we have established a working relationship with Synergy TV, which can be viewed locally on Channel 136. In addition to what is done usually, we will this year be capitalizing on a new initiative called Synergy upon the Avenue. This event will be staged outside the Synergy TV station on Ariapita Avenue in Port of Spain. The venue will be fully branded Vinci Mass. The program includes interviews by CDC officials, various artists, and artists will also be doing interviews and live performances. This event includes not just Vinci Mass, but the other festivals and major activities held during the year in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Footage of these festivals will be shown during this time. This event will be live on Synergy TV, and it will be streaming live on Synergy media pages from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Thursday, 20th February. Apart from Synergy and other media establishments being covering this event, artists who will be a part of the program include Problem Child, Skinny Fabulous, Hans John, Luther, Chanel Mackenzie, Rodney Small, and others. We are inviting all Vincies and every other nationality to join us at Synergy upon the Avenue on Thursday, 20th February from 6 p.m. Other activities in Trinidad include interview on Synergy TV on Thursday 20th, on Friday 21st, during the morning program with Stefan called Breaking Dawn, and we will be on that interview. And we also want to be having other interviews on T10 TV, TV6, and other radio stations during our period in Trinidad and Tobago. We are looking forward to carrying the Vinci Mass brand to the rest of the world as we continue our focus of ensuring that Vinci Mass remains the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Okay, look like the fella walking. All right. Well, we have made our presentations. Of course, at this time, we open up for questions, comments. If you want us, we can do one of two things. We could shift these today, or we can ask the different speakers to come up and respond. All right, so at this point, feel free, comments, questions.
I don't know if I missed it, right? But
Yeah.
explain the rationale of moving what was predominantly a carnival queen show from carnival into independence. Everybody expects. Everybody know it as Miss SVG Carnival Queen. And what's not?
Carnival Queen was a term.
I'm younger than you guys, eh?
Yes.
I know it as growing up.
We
Queen.
started out with having a Carnival Queen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then that changed to a Miss SVG. The Carnival Queen show, I stand corrected if the Carnival Queen Show used to take place more during the carnival, the actual carnival period. Miss SVG has not been in the carnival period, not in the 10 days. It has been at the beginning of June. And while it was still associated with carnival, because that's when you see the build up to carnival, you see the contestants making appearances and so forth, there really is no dramatic tie to the carnival period itself. Miss SVG is its namesake. It's the country's queen, and we can certainly see a greater tie to the independence period. It's the most patriotic time of the year.
That's all queen has They have any young like rural carnival this year? Yes. Yes. So as you have still coordinating those very much. We'll address that on the 3rd March. That's incentive for you to come on the 3rd March. Would there be a rural carnival queen contest?
They usually are. Do you mean
that is not going to change to the October, that is going to stay within
the rural? I don't. He means, I think you're referring to the rural pageants. There should be no changes to the rural pageants. However, what I will say is that we're hoping that eventually, and this will take some work and some further coordination, but we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to see rural queens matriculating into Miss SVG.
But that happened regularly.
But not as a standard. Not as a standard, yes.
So we're going to see the format for the Queen Show change in relation to leaving on the swimsuit pass.
Stay tuned on March 3rd.
Ricky.
My name is Cynthia. Now that you have an in-house accountant, would there be any need for Mr. Sutherland, the gentleman who comes in every year, to deal with all these audits?
So there are two different functions. There's an accounting function that an entity normally has, and that is the person who enters your information on a day-to-day basis and gets your information available to the board for management decisions to be made, etc. The auditor comes in and basically oversees what the accountant has done, and the auditor says, in my opinion, the accountant and the accounts that you have presented fairly represent what has actually transpired. So the audit function is more an overlooking function, whereas the accounting function is a day-to-day function.
Would we be having the services of Mr. Sutherland?
Well, we will have the services of an auditor. And the accounting firm of Sutherland currently is the auditor for the CDC.
In terms of the allocation, more allocation for this year, you might tell us?
Well, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has allocated an increase of, I hope that it went through in the budget, allocated an increase of $60,000 this year, and an increase of $60,000 this year, and that has largely been earmarked for the additional structural improvements at the office level. So as I said, we've taken on more staff. We're doing some things. As I said, we've done some stuff with the conference room. There's some other internal stuff that we're looking to do. We're hoping, I just want to say, we're hoping that obviously in the context of the larger picture of Carnival, we're hoping that we can attract some more sponsorship, because as is always the case, the cost of doing Carnival goes up every year. It goes up not only for the components, but it also goes up for the people who are producing the festival. So it is again an appeal to those who are willing to come and assist in terms of sponsorship. We think it is one of the festivals during which you get quite a lot of bang for the buck. So we're going to be reaching out to additional sponsors to try to see how we can buttress the accounts.
Did I get it that, as you said, that you all entered some songs from our carnival? How many songs you all entered?
5.
Okay, you can tell us what it is.
In terms of our entries for the Soca International Soca Monarch, what we did, we used the general basis was the top 3 placements for Raga Soca and Soca Monarch. So those persons would have entered and placed in those positions last year. Those are the ones that we actually entered into Trinidad, in trying to look for possibilities for them to make it into the finals. Yeah. No, well, Fireman did not submit any. Fireman placed in both categories, but he did not submit anything. And we also had an entry for, so that was before, and we had an entry from Sita, the lyrical diva, First Lady as she is commonly known. So that was submitted as well. Problem Child did his own submission because he was based in Trinidad during that period leading up to the submissions, where he was performing at a number of events and so on. So he actually made his own submission, but I did the submissions for the others.
What kind of support is being given to him?
Well, it will be financial support. I don't know if we have not finalized exactly but it will be financial support. Yeah.
How many you could talk about the show Skinny Fabulous Island Tours in the winter? Look at the most up-to-date event.
Well, it's an event where a number of artists will be performing, Trinidadians and non-Trinidadians alike, including, like I said, too. We have Hanson El Punk. The idea was for us to be able to have an artist on stage rather than just doing promotions, at the venue. We still need that voice and that presence on stage. Like the point was made earlier on about the importance of using artists and the music to sell Vincy Mas. So that's why we went that way in terms of getting these artists, ensure that they are on the cast. In terms of El Punk, I don't know if you're aware, Koja, but El Punk had a big song, very big song in Trinidad last year, all night. Whole night, sorry. And that song is still playing in Trinidad. Not as much as last year, but it's still being played. And while he performed in Trinidad last year, he was able to make some inroads and so on and get the face to be known. So we thought that we should also continue to push him out there and so on, so that we have these Vincy artists being known. It's one thing for us to hear songs, but when the artists go to Trinidad and they get to be known, it also helps them in terms of building connection with other artists, producers, managers, etc. The networking is also very important, not just having a song played. Yeah.
Quick question. Dwayne? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It meant you will be doing marketing coordination with marketing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What specific sections what specific aspects of marketing will you be
Well, it will be holistic. We have to look at the marketing of Vincy Mas as a brand overall to get people to St. Vincent. We have to look at the marketing of the individual shows and events that we are having. And we'll be using various tools, like I mentioned earlier, on social media. And the traditional, we would also still continue to use the newspapers, the televisions, the radio, etc. So it would be holistic marketing. We're looking at doing everything possible. Yeah.
So with the $60,000 addition you got from, is any of that targeted towards you? Is there an increase from last year, from the budget of last year, of this year with marketing?
No, as the chairman indicated earlier, most of the that additional funds will be used for the expansion of the capacity at the office level and for implementing some things that we have to get done from an administrative standpoint. Yeah.
Let me add something there. Okay. In relation to the marketing, right? We get assistance from the Tourism Authority, and we also get assistance from the National Archives Authority to deal with that. Like as indicated, the increased allocation from government is mainly to deal with our 2 new employees. Okay, so the marketing, as you know, the regional and the international marketing, that is taken care of by the Tourism Authority. And of course, like I indicated, the National Lotteries Authority. Speak in the mic now. Okay, take the that. We're in life, so remember people of this.
Okay, Desmond, do you know the newspaper? I have two questions I'm just a bit curious about. Okay, we heard that Miss SVG is out of Carnival, if you want to say. Is there by chance any plans to reintroduce or bring back Miss Carnival or something of that nature in Carnival? That's one. Two, my second question is, you spoke about costumes and nudeness and that kind of thing in the Carnival. Are we looking at some of the bands that we currently have in Carnival and probably trying to restructure them or doing something with them? Because to me, some of the bands that we currently have, they're just there. There's no improvement in those bands. Are we looking at them in any way, maybe helping them to get better, helping them to do something? We see new bands coming in, but some of the old ones are just 10, 20 people, 40 people. What are we looking at in terms of that?
Okay, I'll start with the Miss Caravel because it's a little bit of a shorter response, and I see you've structured it like Miss SVG, 2 questions. So let me answer your first question. On the question of Miss Caravel, we have had discussions on it. I've actually charged LaFern over the last year with talking to people around the region also about the appetite for the Miss Caravel, because we do not want to simply reintroduce Miss Caravel. Miss Caravel was a show that had been waning for a number of years, and we do not want to simply reintroduce Miss Caravel in the format that it was if it doesn't make the cultural and financial sense for us to do it. So we have actually been talking to people at other regional pageants to see whether it is something that makes sense to come back within the carnival period, whether it is something that makes sense to be a Vincentian show that happens in St. Vincent, to which we invite regional delegates, or whether it is something that maybe we need to franchise and start moving around the region, etc. Because it is a big brand. But it's not something that, as I said, we just want to jump into and just recreate what we had before. Because under its previous structure, it really was struggling to attract people through the gate. So that's where that is. In terms of the bands, I don't like to call them the old bands. I like to call them the traditional bands.
The bands have been there for a while.
The majority, yeah, but the majority of them, yeah. So the bands that are bringing the traditional mass have struggled. A number of them have struggled over the last few years in particular. And we have actually met with them as part of the stakeholders meetings. We've had representatives from the mass bands. As you know, we have a representative from the CBA that sits on the CDC board. And additionally, we recently had a meeting with the CBA executive where we discussed a number of issues, prize monies, etc. But, sorry, it's now, thank you, Kaba. It's now called the CBI. I've been calling it CBA for so long, which again is indicative of a change that they have made, where they are now looking at it more as a business rather than just a grouping of mass bands. And one of the things that we offered them, we started it last year, we offered them the opportunity for some marketing support, because one of the things that we recognize is the new entrants into the market are coming in with very strong marketing capacity. So you have new entrants into the market who've got fairly developed social media pages. They've got fairly developed social media targeting and strategy. They're able to do their launches internationally. I know one of the bands launched in New York last year, etc. So what we are saying to the traditional bands is, in order for you to continue to compete, to attract persons, you have to be also competing not only with your product, but you have to be competing with the service that you offer in your masqueraders. So again, we do that through moral suasion, but also with the marketing that you're doing. And we have again offered them a marketing opportunity this year where we've advised them, come in, sit with us, we'll bring in some specialists in marketing to talk to you. And we said to them again, don't necessarily send your band leader, because your band leader is not necessarily the best person to do your marketing. So if you send in somebody from within your organization who is interested in social media, who is interested in marketing, we will offer assistance from the CDC level to ensure that you have your account set up correctly, tell you little ways, when do you post, how do you post, etc. So from that aspect, we're really trying to work along with them.
Well, there being no further questions, and I know it's minutes to 12, let me once again thank you all for coming out to this, our first press conference. Yes, Koja, we would continue to provide the information at our media launch. And of course, we do provide a snack when you are leaving. So thanks once again to everyone, and have a happy day as we go forward.
Magical, 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 magical. Prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. Move it, move it, move it, move it, move. My cousin from England coming down into Finland. Telling me he coming for the mass, he coming to jam. Boy, ready to wreck the place, ready to jump.